Hi everyone, we're starting our tutorial series today, starting with making a platformer in Godot. So the first thing that we'll do is I'm here in my Windows Explorer and I have my documents. I've made a folder called Godot just for all my Godot stuff, and I've put my Godot executable file here, and so I'll just double click on that to open it up. And that should open over here. And I want to create a new file, so we go create. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this T01 Platformer. And we're just going to hit the browse here to make sure that it's in the correct place. And so I want it to go, as I said, into my Godot folder. So I'm going to double click in here. And this is where I want to save the game. So I'll select current folder here. And it'll ask me if I want to do / mobile or compatibility. Basically, this refers to something in the back end that if you go compatibility, it will be able to play on like lower end computers. For our purposes, it doesn't matter too much. I'll just leave it on compatibility and then we can create. All right, so we open up into this screen here. And we'll show you around the screen a little bit. So in the main view, this big part, this is our working view. And so we can actually change what this looks like with these tabs at the top. So right now it's in 3D. We're making a 2D game. So I click on 2D and it looks a little different. And we'll also be working with script later on. So if I click on script, again, it looks a little bit different. I'll leave it on 2D for now. On the left here is where my scene tree is going to go. So we're going to be looking and referring to this section all the time. And then down here in the bottom is where all the files are going to go. So when I create new files, they're going to go down here. Also, if I'm importing graphics files and sprites, they're also going to go down here in the file system. And finally, on the right, we have the inspector. Okay, and later when we start to create sprites and scenes, you'll see that all sorts of information will pop up on the right here. Okay, so we can get into it. In Godot, everything is a scene. Any character is a scene. Any like object in the game that you can interact with is a scene. A level is a scene. So anything in the game is a scene. So the first thing that we want to do is make a new scene. So it's already here for us. And so we need to create for our scene a root node. And so for us, we're going to click other node right here. And we're going to choose character body 2D. And so we just type into the search bar, character body 2D. And you can see it popped up there before I even finished typing it. And that's what I want. Double click on here. Okay, so now in the scene tree, I have character body 2D. I'm going to rename this as player, rename as player. So this is going to be my player. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 child nodes. And so to add a child node, what I do is I make sure that this is highlighted. So this is selected. And then I just click the little plus. And so I come back to this screen of create new node. And this time I want to create a sprite 2D, and you can see right here, before I even finish typing it, it pops up, and that's what I want. Double click or click on this and click create. And the other one I want to create is called collision shape 2D. And so I click the plus again, and I want now collision shape 2D, and that's that right there. Create. Okay. And so take a close look at the scene tree over here. So what it's done is it's actually created the sprite 2D is inside the player, but the collision shape 2D is inside the sprite 2D. I don't want that. I want the collision shape 2D to be inside the player. And so I can just drag this on top of the player. So you can see that the player now has a rectangle around it. So I'm going to release my click. And now we see sprite is inside player and collision shape 2D is also inside player. These two are now on the same level, which is what we want. Okay, let's select sprite 2D. And so when I click on sprite 2D and we take a look over on the right side, you can see that in my inspector, I now have all these different options. And you can open those up and take a look and see what's in each one. For right now, we're just going to use the texture. Right now, in texture, it's empty. The texture is basically the image that this player is going to get. So for right now, we'll just use the default image that comes with Godot, which is this icon.svg thing. And we're going to drag that into that box right there. And so now we have this image that goes with our player. Next thing that we'll do is we'll select collision shape 2D. So what is a collision shape 2D is it's what allows a scene in Godot to interact with another scene in Godot, because it will detect anytime that it touches another scene in Godot. And so we need that to be able to move around. So what we're going to do is we'll see that once we clicked on collision shape 2D, that on the inspector, a whole bunch of different options popped up. So what appears in the inspector will depend on what type of sprite you have selected on the in the scene tree. So what we're going to do is go to shape right here. Right now it's empty. We're going to choose one, and you can choose whichever shape you want, but I'm going to choose rectangle because my sprite is a rectangle. And you can see that it pops up a little shape here if I zoom in. So you can zoom in just by using the scroll wheel, and you can also move this around by holding down the scroll wheel, and then you can move. Okay, so I'm going to resize it to be the same size as my sprite. Okay, so now this blue box is going to be what detects the collisions. Okay, so it's looking good. So we're done with that for now. So we're going to save it, and so you can just go to scene, save scene, or you can go Control S. So it'll ask you to save the name. And so by default, it just goes to the name of your root node that we renamed as player, but used to be character body 2D. So that's why it's important to rename these things so that we don't save things as character body 2D and we don't really know what it is. We save it as the player scene. Okay, so now up here, it says player. Okay, so we're going to now make a new scene. We're going to make a scene for our level. So to make a new scene, we're going to go plus up here, and you can see that pops up, add a new scene. We click it, and we get this same screen over here. Okay, so in this case, what kind of node do we want? We're just going to choose a 2D node right here. Okay, so we have a 2D node. We're going to rename it as level. Okay, we're going to create a child for this node. So we're going to click on the plus for add child node. And this time we're going to go static body 2D. Right here, static body 2D. Okay. And same as we did for the player, we're going to give our static body 2D two children, one sprite and one collision body 2D. Sprite 2D. Last time we had this selected and we created a new one, which made the collision body 2D a child of the sprite 2D. But so depending on what we have selected, when we create the new one is what it will become the child of. So I'm going to select static body 2D here and then create that collision shape, sorry. And you can see now that collision shape is directly a child of static body 2D rather than as a child of sprite 2D. And that's what I want. Okay, so we want to make sure we have level as the top level node, and then static body 2D as a child of the level, and a sprite 2D as the child of the static body 2D, and the collision shape 2D as a child of the static body 2D as well. All right, so as we did before, let's get an image for the sprite 2D. If you want, you can have your own image here. If you want to do that, just go to your file explorer, and from your file explorer, you can drag stuff into the file system here, and that will make it part of your game. For me, I'll just keep on using this default icon as my default. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually resize it so that it looks more like a platform. And so I'm going to use the handles here and drag it like this. Something like that. Okay, so now it's a platform that I can run around on. And then I get my collision shape 2D. And again, in the inspector, we're going to get a rectangle shape 2D. And I want to resize it so that it looks the same as my sprite. All right, so it's looking good. In my game, we have the cross here, and this is going to be top left-hand corner of my game. And you can see my platform right here is in the top left-hand corner of my game. That's not going to work particularly well for a platformer, so I want to move it down to the bottom. If I zoom out and pan over, you can see that the game window is actually this, I don't know, it might be hard to see on your screen, but this kind of purplish square here. So I want to move my platform down nearer to the bottom. And so we have these controls here that will help us manipulate the stuff in the 2D view. And this one right here, the second one, is the move mode. And so I select that one and it gives me the option. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That I changed the collision shape. So let's undo that, Control Z. I should select the static body 2D because that's what I want to move. And I have move selected, and now I can move it. There we go. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make another platform, but I can do a shortcut. I can just go select that static body 2D, and I'm going to go Control and D, and that will duplicate it. And so now I have two of them. You can't see in the picture because they're on top of each other, but I can select this one and I can move one of them so that it's up here. So you can add as many platforms as you want and change the shape and stuff of them as you want. I'll leave it at these two for now. All right, so I've got my platforms ready. I need my player. And you can see here in the level, I have platform 1, platform 2. I'm just going to collapse them with these little arrows so that it is not much stuff in my screen. I'm going to select level at the top level node, and then over here I have a little chain icon. This chain icon is how I can add one scene into another scene. So the player is a scene of its own, and so I'm going to click on that chain, and you can see the player comes up here, and I select the player, and now my player is in my scene, except I can't see it. Zoom out, and it's up there, and so I want it to come down here, and so I have the move tool selected, and move it down here. All right, so we're almost done. What we're going to do, we need to save this scene. We'll go Control S to save, and it gives us the name level.tscn, level scene, and we'll save. We're going to switch back to the player scene tab, and we need to add one more thing. So I'm going to select the player, the root node icon here, and I'm going to, up here there's a little green plus with a little scroll, and so that is going to attach a new script. So this is where my code is going to be. Let's click that. Okay, so it's giving us a few options. GDScript is what we're going to use for all of our tutorial series. It inherits character body 2D. That's good because this player is a character body 2D. There are different templates. In most cases, we're going to go with empty, but for this first one, I don't want to get into the code too much, so we're just going to give it a pre-built script, which is basic movement. Okay, path is going to be player.gd, and we'll basic movement, classic movement for Gravity Games platformer. That's what we're making, so that is going to work. And so we create. Okay, and we see all this stuff. In future tutorials, we're going to get into more what this stuff is. But for now, we'll go with it. The one thing that I will show you is right here, const speed equals 300 and const jump velocity equals -400. We'll leave it there, but if you wanted to change the speed or the jump, this is what you would do, you would just change these to different numbers. Okay, you can see up in the top, we now have, because this script was just created, it automatically sent us to the script tab. Let's go back to the 2D tab. And okay, so that's our player. We'll go back to our level, and there's our level. Okay, so now we're ready to try out our game. No, we have to save it first. You can see that it's not saved because we have this little star beside the player scene. So we'll go to player scene, Control S to save. Okay, now we're ready. And yeah, so we can run it. So up in the top, we have a few different run buttons. So there's the regular run button that runs the project. And then there's the run current scene. And then there's the run specific scene. Okay, so I clicked on the regular run button and it says no main scene has ever been defined. Select one. You can change it later in product settings or application category. And so it's not sure if I want to run my player scene or my level scene. I want to run my level scene because that's the main scene and my player scene is actually in the level scene anyways. And so I do have my level scene selected right now. And so I'm going to say select current, but you could always go select and you can choose which one, like level. Okay, open. And okay, so now it's running. And you can see here it is. And I can move around left and right and I can jump. And my jump is not high enough to reach that platform. So I'm going to change my jump. We're going to go to script, the script tab up at the top here. And jump velocity, -400. I'm not sure if changing it up or down will make the jump higher. Let's go -600. Save. Run again. And this time, yes, I can jump up to this platform. And that's it. We've made our first game. You've made your first game in Godot. That's all for this tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one.